Hello, BookTube. Every once in a while, the YouTube algorithm, in its infinite wisdom, will recommend a video to me from the Dude Bro side of YouTube, from the numerous channels made by Dude Bro grifters and scam artists taking advantage of the fact that 90s kids, that especially 90s young boys, were not, in essence, parented. They received no parenting, especially no fathering. And as a result, those boys have grown up into the 21st century as young men now, between the ages of 18 and 28, famously aimless. More likely than any other demographic to be lifeless, stamped upon drones, or psychotics who kill people. and also shills for mountebanks and charlatans like Jordan Peterson. They just line up in their infinite sameness. You'll see a line of 1,000 of them outside a Jordan Peterson speaking event. And before there was Jordan Peterson, they lined up in equal numbers for an Eminem concert. They are famously aimless. And grifters and opportunists and dude bros out there on YouTube have noticed that fact and have they've swarmed to fill that void. And a lot of times when they make their BroTube brotivational videos, they will mention books. They'll mention reading. And since this channel is, 30% about books, sometimes the algorithm will make those videos known to me. And because I have a kind of perverse curiosity about these people, I will then go looking at some of their back catalogs of videos. And I thought I would share today some of what I've found. Because one of the things that these brotivational speakers love to do is give their wayward, young, white, male target audience tips on how to live. Life hacks. Living tips that they can follow. Of course, Jordan Peterson shot to multi-millionaire status with a book that does exactly that, that gives people 12 antidotes to chaos. But there have been many, many other such books, many, many of them. And some of the oldies but goodies, like Norman Vincent Peale, have been refound by these young 20-something men and grappled to them with hoops of steel. And so when I was looking around these brotivational channels, I noticed that. I noticed the prevalence. Once I got past their ridiculous book conversations, oh my God, they admit they don't read. And yet they're giving book recommendations. They admit they don't read. And even if they didn't admit it, it would be easy to tell that these people don't ever sit and read. They're too in love with their own faces. They're too in love with their own voices. To have quiet time where they are plugged into someone else's brain? No way. No how. But when I look beyond their book videos, I got to their tip videos. And I wanted to share some of those with you. I want to share 3 with you, arranged in ascending order of the size of the audience that they command. And see if we can't boil down some of this brotivational nonsense into rules that actually are worthwhile. So this is only very tangentially connected to books. Unless I write my own 12 rules for life, in which case I guess I could make $1 million. Wouldn't that be something? But I want to start off, I'll start off with the smallest channel. A floppy-haired young 20-something called Gabe Bolt, who has 16,000 subscribers at the time that I saw his channel. And who has a video entitled 100 Tips for Life. 100 tips for getting the most out of life. Now, the poor thing doesn't get to 100 in his 13-minute video, because I guess that's too much work. So he gets to 50 tips and then sort of calls it a day and says that he'll do the other 50 in some other video. The video that he makes, where he says this is going on way too long, is only 13 minutes long. And you might think, well, maybe he just doesn't make long videos. Why? Or you might wonder, why didn't he just push ahead to 100 videos? It wouldn't have been that much longer. It'd be a 20-minute, 30-minute video. And he'd get them all in one video. And of course, we can have many different discussions of why that would be so. It could be that he ran out of stuff and couldn't reach 100. I think that's likely, given what we're going to see. It could also be that he has one eye reptilianly, unblinkingly focused on the same YouTube algorithm that I opened this video by mentioning, and knows perfectly well that after a certain minute count on a video, he's already reached monetization and doesn't have to bother going any longer than that. I don't think that he actually thinks that his BroTube audience would have minded getting all 100 things in one video. But he doesn't give it to him. He doesn't go back and change the title either, nor does he go back and proofread any of the text. There's numerous spelling errors in the text of his video. He doesn't go back and do any of that. He doesn't go back and change it to 50 life tips. Instead, he leaves the 100 in there. And I want to run down some of those with you, and we'll see what we make of them. Number 1 is pay close attention. And that's a perfectly sound piece of advice. Pay close attention to what you do. But you're going to notice not all of these pieces of advice are sound, even in the 50 that he starts with. And you're also going to notice something else. You're not going to need me to point it out, and you're not going to need me to point out the specifics, which is that a lot of these things contradict themselves, and they contradict other things on this list, which is a perfect demonstration of something that you actually don't need demonstrated. You could turn the sound off on his video and just watch him, and you can tell one thing that you know for sure about this video, which is that this kid doesn't believe any of these things and doesn't do any of them himself. Maybe he does the financially connected stuff, but the rest of it, he doesn't do any of it. And that's one way that you can tell by the fact that his rules contradict each other, that some of them telescope each other and can be and include each other, and that even the basic care of going back and making sure that the spelling is right and that the number of tips is right, that wasn't enough for him to do. This is just bunkum, most of it, being spoon-fed to a precisely vulnerable target audience. But anyway, number 2 is be skeptical about everything. He doesn't have the self-awareness to tell you that you should be skeptical of his own advice video. Number 3 is learn from others. That's born straight out of one of Jordan Peterson's rules that neither he nor Jordan Peterson believes. Jordan Peterson's rule is to treat everyone you meet as if they know something you don't. He absolutely does not believe that. And this kid doesn't believe it either. but nevertheless, number 3 is learn from others. Number 4 is don't multitask, which is excellent advice, but watch a minute, don't watch the whole thing, but watch a minute of any of his videos and tell me that he strikes you as someone who is not multitasking on his phone when he's doing editing on his computer. It's just impossible. So he doesn't follow his own advice, is what I'm saying. Number 5 is win early. And by this he means try and rack up a success earlier in your life. That'll give you the self-confidence you need to go on to more successes. In his particular case, it was stumbling, it seems to me from looking at his earlier videos, stumbling sort of backwards into the ability to flip houses and gain financial freedom by being a landlord, which is not a bad gig to get, but it's not exactly a productive member of society. You're parasiting on someone else rather explicitly. And unfortunately, in this case, as in so many other cases throughout history, being a landlord gives you a lot of free time, and you don't usually know how to use it well. And making a list of life tips that you yourself self-evidently don't follow is not a good use of that time that you're doing. But anyway, that's what he means by win early. And then number 6 is do one thing each morning. Concentrate on one thing each morning and do it first before your day starts having its way with you. Pretty good advice. Number 7 is don't diet. Instead, change your lifestyle. He admits that this is a lie because he's doing a vegan diet while he's making the video. But even so, he says that the idea here is to change the way you think about eating and binging and food and taste and flavor and all that, as opposed to going on some prescripted diet that you certainly won't stay on. So in that sense, it's fairly good advice. Number 8 is perfect is the enemy of good. A very well-thumbed brotivational chestnut. Don't make perfect the enemy of good. Sometimes good enough is good enough. Which I guess explains why you would leave spelling errors and numerical errors in a video that's going out to your audience. Why you would do that, and why when it's pointed out to you that those things are there, you would leave them there anyway. I guess that's what it means. I'm not really sure. Number 9 is read 1 page a day. This is one of the many examples on this list where readers, veteran readers like we are just going to look at this and say, well, yeah, of course. Of course. Yeah. And it might help if this guy says that he reads and he has a whole thread on book recommendations. He certainly does not read. He certainly does not read. He might consider that thing we saw a year ago, Blinkist, where you get little 15-minute digest nuggets of the stuff that you're supposed to call books you've read. Or you might be a big fan of audiobooks, but I guarantee you he doesn't listen to audiobooks while doing nothing else. He multitasks. But one way or another, he's thinking it might be good for you to read a page a day. I second that. Number 10 is choose your friends wisely. And here he repeats another well-worn chestnut of the brotivational circuit, which is that you are the average, you are reflected in the 5 people you hang out with the most. That is obviously not true. You are an individual. I have to hope that all of your friends are individuals. All brotivational speakers say that. And they all say it for a reason, because they want you, subtly or overtly, to start shaping your friends according to who can do you the most good financially. This kid comes very close to saying that, and so do other people. And you should reject such behavior as just horrible reptilian nonsense that it is, and just avoid it. Just try not to think about it. Then the number 11 is try something. Something is misspelled. Else. Try something new. Shake up your habits from time to time. Very good idea. Number 12, of course, is have manners. This is self-evident good idea. Number 13 is play games that challenge you. I would say if you're not a child, don't play games at all. But if you're going to, definitely play games that challenge you. Number 14 is don't take everything personally. Self-evidently good idea, especially in the age of social media. Count to 10, in other words, is what my generation would have said. It's not all about you, and even if it is, it's not all that important. So try not to overreact to everything. Number 15 is do nice things even for people who can't help you. And Gabe stresses that last part emphatically. That even if this person can't, franchise your business, you should still, be nice to them. I know, it's amazing, isn't it? Yeah, I would second that. Be nice to people, even if they can't be financially useful to you. Number 16 is save 6 months to 1 year of living expenses. A very, very good idea. I noticed that he's at his best when he's talking about financial advice. What he means here is put aside enough money to give you a cushion. Should you need to quit your job? Should you be fired from your job? Should you have an emergency? Run out of rent money? And he mentioned something that I wasn't really expecting, and that gives me hope for him in the future, which is that having that security, 1 year, 6 months to 1 year of a safety blanket saved, that isn't touched, that isn't part of your normal savings, that is solely a contingency saving blanket, really does give you peace of mind, a feeling of freedom. He's right about that. You'll feel it in your lungs. You'll feel a lightness, a sense of freedom. You won't have your back against the wall. So do what you have to get that cushion in place, and then leave it there or add to it. He's right about that, absolutely. Then number 17 is bring value before asking someone for something. You should bring them value. Value is a talismanic word for these motivational speakers. It's all about value, and it's because it's an incredibly vague word, they can find it any way they like, which is the whole point. But you're supposed to do that. You're supposed to provide someone value before you ask something from them. Again, we don't need to go into great detail. You can read this as well as I can. We don't need to go into great detail about how several of these pieces of advice directly contradict other pieces of advice on this list. Then number 18 is remember people's names, straight out of Norman Vincent Peale. Number 19 is do things that scare you. Within reason, I would certainly suggest this, again, to shake up your habits. Number 20 is don't live for social media. I wholeheartedly approve of that. It's going to come up again on this list. And once again, of course, you don't need to watch more than 5 seconds of this kid to know that he does not abide by this rule. He is teaching you what he himself does not practice. But even so, it's still good advice, whether he follows it or not. Then 21 is be humble. I laughed out loud when I watched this guy say this rule on his channel. I laughed out loud at it, just as I have with every other motivational speaker. The ones that pack Yankee Stadium will say, be humble. They are not humble. They have never been humble, and they wouldn't be now even if you gave them reason to be. If you ruined their life, they still wouldn't be. Donald Trump, for instance, who is never far from the thoughts or the lists of any of these motivational speakers, whether they explicitly acknowledge it or not, was never at his more arrogant than the 6 or 7 or 8 times that he was bankrupt. So they're never humble. They don't ever go back to that reset setting. Number 22 is buy needs, not wants. I would myself would not reduce this to an axiom. I would say acknowledge what is a need and what is a want. But buying the occasional want, even though you don't need it, is fun. Work it into the budget as long as it doesn't hurt the more important things. I wouldn't say don't ever do it. But then again, Gabe certainly buys wants in addition to needs. So he doesn't say it either, except to you. Number 23 is do a 30-day challenge, whatever the 30-day challenge is. Again, he doesn't seem to see that this conflicts with his don't diet, but whatever it is, try something. In his case, he mentions minimalism. And the typical minimalist challenge is not Marie Kondo your whole living space, but pick one item on a Monday that you're going to throw away. One item that you never use, you never look at, that you're just holding on to for no reason whatsoever. And then on Tuesday, pick 2 such items and throw them away. And the challenge here would be either do that for 30 days, maybe not doubling it every day. Maybe pick one item every day for 30 days that you're going to throw away. But whether it's minimalism or not, it's a good idea. Number 24 is the worst thing you can have is a job you don't hate. This is very typical BroTube counterintuitive bro wisdom about how his idea is if you love your job, you might be tempted to stagnate there. You should have a job you hate so that you're motivated to move on. Let's do a little moving on. Number 25 is drink more water. Very good idea. Number 26, always keep your word. A very good idea. I would be willing to bet a digit of one of my hands that within a calendar year of making this video, this person broke his word to someone. Probably on a personal level, because it's a personal level, he's probably drawing a mental exception in his mind. Brotivational speakers draw mental exceptions in their minds all the time. All the time they do. It's what allows them to sound so sincere about something they do not believe, something they do not follow. They draw exceptions in their mind. If Jordan Peterson tells a crowd of 35,000 slavering young white boys to be humble, in his mind, he is drawing a distinction. In his mind, he's thinking, unless you've earned it, and I have. But he won't say that part. Same thing with almost all of these people are tobacco addicts of one kind or another, but they will tell you don't smoke. And it's because they vape or juul. And in their minds, they're drawing a distinction between those two things, so they're able to say it. But one way or another, where were we here? Yes, number 27, get on a gym routine and lift heavy. He lifts heavy to burn fat. A gym routine is good, though, unless you're a billion years old. That's the law. That's the exception I'm drawing in my own mind, is that if you're a billion years old, maybe not. Although plenty of people would say that a gym routine is valuable no matter what. Let's see here. Oh my God, where did we go? Look at all these things. We were talking about lifting heavy. Yes, there we go. Number 28 is drink your coffee black. He lists a bunch of reasons. I would say if you're concerned about winnowing out the unhealthy aspects of drinking coffee, then don't drink it at all, because it's an artificial stimulant that is kind of bad for you. I mean, you can keep doing it. It's the gentlest of all the addictions, but even so, if you're going to start winnowing, I'd winnow it out completely. Then number 28 is find like-minded people. Number 30 is read at least one financial book. I guess a page a day. Number 31 is stop to breathe. Remember to take a deep breath. A lot of us spend time hunched over keyboards. And don't take deep breaths. Remember to do that. Number 32 is switch to dark chocolate. He claims that dark chocolate is better for you than milk chocolate. Probably he's right. Number 33 is have goals you write down. The brotivational speakers are very big on writing down your goals. Probably it helps to concentrate your mind. Number 34 is if you're not happy with something, I assume it's something that he means, change it. Self-evident. A lot of people don't do it. Might be worth thinking about. Number 35 is invest money in yourself. They all come around to that. Whether they start that way or not, they all come around to this being about you. Because that helps with getting you to open your wallet to fund them. But Gabe doesn't seem to have merch or be heavily monetized, so he might have had that in mind. But we'll get to people who do. Number 36 is read both sides. Don't stay stuck in your bubble. He suggests that Republicans and Democrats, for instance, in America, could benefit greatly by studying each other's positions, or at least hearing each other's positions. And then he undercuts the whole thing by saying he doesn't watch the news at all. So an ignoramus on the subject is teaching you how to do the subject, which is cause for concern right there. Number 37 is create something today. Don't wait. Do it today. Create something. Wherever his motivation is coming to say this, it's entirely true. Entirely true. Don't just consume. Make. You have at your disposal a greater arsenal of tools to make things than anyone else ever has in history. Take advantage of it. Make things. You will be amazed at how it feels. Number 38 is find a hobby. Number 39 is be okay with failure. Number 40 is be okay with feeling dumb. And Gabe says in his elaboration here, at this point he was getting a little tired, the poor little daffodil. But in his elaboration he says that aside from a handful of subjects about real estate or finance, he feels dumb all the time and admits it to people. Again, I'd be willing to bet a digit of a finger of mine that he's unbelievably arrogant on a large number of subjects he knows nothing about. But I could be wrong. Number 41 is practice saying no, because sometimes you got to stick with your no. Sometimes something just isn't for you. Number 42 is don't eat fast food, and he recommends preparing meals and snacks throughout the day. Number 43 is get in touch with your body and figure out how it feels. How many workouts a week feel right for you? How much running feels right for you? What kind of eating and when feels right for you? Number 44 is take extreme ownership of your mistakes. If you did something wrong, fess it up immediately. 45 is do a minimalism challenge, so kind of a repeat of the try a new thing. Number 46 is have less screen time. Very, very valuable. I had a built-in system before there was such a thing as screen time, but it served me in good stead. At midnight, every night, I turned into a pumpkin. I shut off everything. It used to be that was the phone and the radio. But it works just as well. I do everything anyway. So I shut off everything after midnight and just read. And it helps a lot. It really does help a lot. Not just with your powers of concentration, but with your peace of mind. 47 is learn to count calories. I don't know that would be much use, but maybe some of you would find it so. Number 48 is start a side hustle. And this does not mean a hobby. The phrase, as some of you will know, refers to a side gig that makes you money. A lot of people use YouTube as a side hustle. Number 49 is stay focused on learning about money. Learn a little bit about financial literacy. This guy seems to be big on that. And I've watched a couple of his videos where when he's not patting himself on the back for falling into being a landlord, he does have some sound things to say about finance. So maybe he knows what he's talking about when it comes to that one. Number 50 is improve your credit. Do what you can to improve your credit score. There's a whole bunch of strategies you can take to improve your credit score. And he's right that it does help. It follows you throughout your life. So if you've ever declared bankruptcy, for instance, or if you've defaulted on a credit card or a loan of some kind, that's a mark. And you can take steps to eradicate that or to lessen it. And you probably should, because otherwise that mark is the first thing anyone's going to see when they call up your credit history. And that can affect whether you get a loan for a business or proof for a mortgage or whatever. And it was that 50 that our poor little daffodil gave out. He just said, this video is already long. I really can't make it any longer. He waffles on for another 2 minutes about the coffee that he's drinking. But nevertheless, he goes on in a second video. He continues this 100 tips for life by giving you 30 or so more tips. So he never actually reaches 100. And yet, in 2 videos, he does not change any of the numbering involved at all here. But he does go on. Number 51 in this listing would be look at things from other points of view, a repetition of what he did earlier. Number 52 is don't wait. Very simply put, don't wait. If there's something that you want to do, start it now. Do it now. Start planning for it now. Don't wait on it. Do it right away. Number 53 is do it yourself. Try something. If you've got a shower head that's not working, or for instance, this little Star Trek data pad here did not. It was just it's a Kindle. It's a Kindle Fire, and it did not have a lot of the stuff that I wanted on it. And one day I just decided, to see if, for instance, the Google Play Store could be put on this machine. And it was possible to do. It's now on here. This thing is 10 times more valuable to me than it was when I got it for $50, because I was able to just, rather than think, oh, gee, I need to bring it to a tech head friend, I decided, is there a way I can do this myself? Can I just get around that myself? Turned out it wasn't that hard at all. Number 54 is don't eat just for taste. Pay attention to what's valuable in your body. He doesn't take it to the extreme that I would take it for, which is that the only thing that meat has going for it is its taste. And it has a lot going against it. So don't eat for taste, just for taste alone, I agree with. 55 is, he includes don't smoke. I, of course, agree with this. But motivational speakers who say that almost always do it. They've just drawn a line around it. They say, it's all about health, guys. Eat healthy. Here's my weight training program. You can download it for $20 a month. But every single night, they are up on the roof or they are out on the patio with an 8-inch long cigar. And if you ask them, they'll say, well, I don't smoke. No, just cigars. Or something like that. They make exceptions in their head. I'd be willing to bet that Gabe does that he does, in fact, smoke. If we use that as a broad term for taking carcinogens into your lungs for a tiny, infinitesimally small narcotic hit, despite knowing full well the gigantic list of reasons why you shouldn't. I'd be willing to bet he does that, but one way or another, it's on his list. Then number 6 is get used to the phrase, I could be wrong. Start by telling people I could be wrong. Number 57 is it's okay to say I don't know. very, very akin to saying I could be wrong. 58 is build one new habit a day. That's reflected in earlier ones. 59 is take risks when you're young. When you presumably can come back, when you can bounce back better, take risks when you're young. Number 60 is accept your mistakes. Again, the extreme ownership. 61 is try the 2-minute rule. This is an idea where if something is bothering you, some light fixture, the batteries in a smoke detector, a smudge on a bathroom wall or whatever, rather than looking at it and saying, I really need to get around to that, give yourself 2 minutes on a clock and fix it right now. Do it right now. You'll be amazed. I know this is true because I've done it. You'll be amazed at how many things that are irritating you are fixable in 2 minutes. And then you don't have that psychic drag anymore. 62 is have a 5-minute walk every day. Those of us who are dog owners have no choice in that matter. In any kind of weather, out we go. But it's a good idea anyway to clear the lungs. Although a lot of these motivational speakers and a lot of the YouTube weightlifter crowd that post videos of themselves lifting weights to the latest copyright-free rap music, a lot of them, when they talk about healthy living, will talk about going out for a walk in the neighborhood, but they're smoking when they do it. That's why they do it. So they just cut that out of their video, that part of it. So it's kind of defeating the purpose. If you're ingesting carcinogens into your body while you go for a nice healthy walk, you're kind of defeating the purpose. 63 is set your alarm 15 minutes early to do something. And in my case, I would say to pause, to reflect. If you're going to use an alarm clock, I would argue, no, don't use an alarm clock. Work to get yourself to the point where you don't need an alarm clock to get up, no matter when you're getting up. It's very bad for you, I think, to have an alarm clock waking you up out of a sound sleep. But even if you use one, set it 15 minutes early and use that time, I would say, to take a deep breath, to clear your mind, to think about the day that's coming and take it in a big perspective before you get out of bed, before you launch yourself, because you know the minute you do, the world is going to be picking at you here and there. Drip, drip, drip. Take those 15 minutes early as a pause before the storm. So I like that. That's a good one. 64 is reconsider going to college. It's not for everybody, and it's hugely expensive. I agree with that. Number 65 is track your phone time with a goal towards reducing it. And sometimes tracking it is the necessary first step because a lot of people are amazed by how much time they spend on their phone. 66 is learn about financial independence. Again, that's a thread that runs throughout. 67 is practice a 1-minute cleanup. Is there a mess you can fix in 1 minute as a connection to a 2-minute rule? 68 is read biographies. And he means to extract life hacks from them, and he means on Audible. But I would suggest, of course, read biographies as books, just because you're interested. You're intellectually interested. Number 69 is don't text and drive, self-evident. Number 70 is a reminder that no one cares. Not sure how this coincides with him surrounding himself by people who mean the best for him. People do care about you, of course, but his point is in the broader sense. This isn't the be-all and end-all. This isn't, World War III. The same thing is true with the next one. 71 is it will pass. Just remember, whatever dark time you're going through, probably there's light at the end of the tunnel. 72 is happiness is a choice. This is another rubric of the motivational speaking realm. It is kind of insulting because a lot of things that make you unhappy are things that are happening to you. You're not choosing them. You would choose otherwise if you could. It way oversimplifies this. It's someone like Gabe who is in an extremely comfortable point in his life. It's someone taking advantage of being in an extremely comfortable point in their life to just utter a complacent Buddhism about how happiness is a choice because they happen to be happy. And if something were to happen to their life, if you develop an inoperable brain tumor, well, all of a sudden they would stop saying happiness is a choice. Instead, they'd talk about resiliency in the face of trouble, which is what they should be talking about. Happiness is a choice insults all of us. But anyway, he said it. Number 73 is do preventative maintenance on your car, I guess. 74 is dress for the job you want, I guess. Kid was in a t-shirt in the video where he said that. 75 is get paid for doing what you love if you can. That, I think, connects with a side hustle. 76 is start a high-interest savings account and pump money into it on a monthly basis and don't think about it. In other words, again, to build yourself a financial cushion. Do it in little baby steps, but do it because it gives you great peace of mind to have a financial cushion like that. To not be living on the edge of catastrophe. That gives great peace of mind. 77 is learn how to cook. Hard to argue with that. 78 is discover new music. I'm 100% certain that Gabe doesn't do that, but I'm sure that he discovers what he thinks is new music. It's just a different person making the same kind of music that he knows he already likes. If he's ever listened to a Handel oratorio, I'm in the Shah of Iran. But he's young. He has time yet. 79 is invest time in yourself. 80 is spend less money than you make. And Gabe says in his video that it sounds very simple and yet nobody does it. I bet he's right about that. It is a very simple thing. Stay within your means, is what my generation would have said. Spend less money than you make. It is very simple, but a lot of people don't do it. So it's worth remembering. 81 is save up 3 to 6 months emergency fund. This is he didn't remember what the time period that he'd given for this, exactly the same piece of advice in his earlier video from only a month before this second one, but that's all right. Maybe he was multitasking. 82 is listen to the struff. I think that means stuff that you should know. So improving podcasts or whatnot. And 83 is his reminder that life is a game. So pretend that it's a video game and you're a character, you're a video game player controlling the character who is you. What decisions would you make that might, I think he meant it as a way to step back and look at the whole picture and maybe not take it so seriously. And it's at 83 that our poor little daffodil gave out. Probably he needed more black coffee or to step outside and jewel for a bit. But one way or another, he never got to 100, never got close. So I thought that would leave us with some brotivational tips that we still needed to make. So I went up the rung to Evan Carmichael, who has 2 million subscribers. He has 10 rules that he wants to give you. Number 1 is thicken your skin. In other words, don't take things too personally. Number 2 is discipline yourself to make yourself do what you want. Number 3 is don't let fear paralyze you. Very close to discipline yourself. Number 4 is treat yourself like you matter. And it references Jordan Peterson for this. A very Jordan Peterson-esque thing to do. Emphasizing you, the biddable 22-year-old white boy who I expect to give me enough money to fund my vacation house in the south of France. Number 5 is spend more time on learning. In the video that Evan Carmichael uses, it is spouted by someone who has never spent any time learning anything. But you have to take the good with the bad here. You have to separate the advice from the giver. Number 6 is act like a non-commodity. In other words, the star. Number 7 is don't make any excuses. But sometimes there are excuses. I think I know what this person means. I think it means don't make wheedling, whining excuses. Take ownership of your mistakes, as Gabe said. But number 8 is do everything with intensity. Don't half-ass anything. That would go hand in hand with don't multitask. But it wouldn't go hand in hand with perfect is the enemy of good. It's what I mean. It's a minefield of contradictions in the brotivational world. Number 9 is you need to find mentors. And number 10 is maintain good relationships. Notice that Evan Carmichael's sources do not say good friendships. Maintain good relationships. And then from there, we'll move on to a channel called Alpha M. Now, all of these things were recommended to me by the YouTube algorithm, but and all of them had, and I'm sure a million others, all have tips to improve your life hacks, that sort of thing. Anything to give direction to these poor, directionless, white t-shirt wearing, white 20-something men who were not raised effectively by their fathers, whose fathers did not tell them any rules. And make sure to punish them if they broke those rules. The 90s kids who were raised in a wilderness of ultra-permissiveness need these things if they're not going to shoot up a schoolyard, I guess, is the philosophy behind here. And even if they end up shooting up a schoolyard, before they do that, they can certainly contribute donor tier level money to the mentor that they happen to find. But Alpha M has 6 million subscribers, and he has a 10-list rule as well. First one is grow a thicker skin. Exactly the same as the last one. Second one is appreciate what you have. You don't need everything you want. This is an echo of Gabe's separate your needs from your wants. Number 3 is failure can be amazing. It can teach you things. Number 4 is don't do drugs. Don't drink to excess. People who say don't do drugs, don't drink to excess, do drink. And the reason they say don't do drugs instead of don't smoke is because they smoke and they know that there are pictures and video. And they don't want that surfacing on social media. They're lying ahead of time to get ahead of the game because they know they're lying to their audience. And they know their audience is online. But nevertheless, don't do drugs, don't drink to excess is a good idea. Number 5 is pick good friends. as opposed to bad friends. You don't want any bad friends. Number 6 is be nice to everybody except the people that you're not picking as your friends. They're nothing, so you can treat them as dirt. Number 7 is do what's right, not what's easy. Number 8 is don't be afraid of hard work, which is always funny coming from grifters who are siphoning money out of credulous dolts. They're not working hard. they're the opposite of working hard, and they all espouse the value of hard work. So it's always kind of funny. Number 9 is listen to your parents. Well, that would be good if 90s kids could do it, but most of them didn't have much to listen to. Their parents wanted to be their friends instead of their parents. That's why we have all these incel, loner, weirdo, lone wolves in the 2020s that we have to deal with. And number 10 is stand up for yourself. So, fairly anodyne, and yet this thing had more views on it. This one video had more views on it than my entire channel. And from these 3 sets of brotivational nuggets of wisdom, life tips, I thought we could see if we could distill a list of 10 that do make sense. Right? As we've been going through there, we've seen some of them do make sense. So what would that decalogue be? What would our 10 be? Number 1 is set your alarm 15 minutes early to do something. Stop and breathe. That's a very good idea. I would argue don't use an alarm clock. But one way or another, start your day with a pause and a broader control room look at everything that's facing you that day. Don't just bolt out of bed. In other words, use that time to pause and think. That's very good as number 1. Number 2, do everything with intensity. Don't multitask. Pay close attention. That refrain came all throughout. I wholeheartedly agree with that. If you're going to read, don't do anything else. Just read. If you're going to write, turn off all your other distractions and just write. And that applies to even the stuff that I don't do. All I do is read and write, but it applies to everything else as well. Do one thing well and then move on. Don't multitask. Multitasking is the enemy of good. Then number 3 would be have a 5-minute walk every day. That's a very good idea, and I would suggest, whether you have a dog or not, expand it. Start with 5 minutes every day, and you'll like it. You'll like it a lot. In fact, it will double as a pause in your day, especially if you do it right and don't bring your phone with you. Make yourself uncontactable for that 5-minute walk. You're going to like it. You're going to like how it makes you feel. And believe you me, a 30-minute walk every day, you'll sleep like a baby at night. Not that I advocate that either, but if you value that sort of thing, you'll sleep like a baby at night. So that's a good one. Then number 4, don't do drugs. And by this, I mean anything. Anything that any drug, in this case, the larger rubric being any chemical substance you take into your body that you don't physically require that does more harm than good. So there's a case to be made that maybe your beloved coffee is okay, because it doesn't do that much harm. It's kind of filthy, but it doesn't do your body that much harm, and it can be a companion during the day. It is a mild addiction, but all the rest of it should be gone. Just get rid of it. Whether these motivational speakers specify or not, get rid of all of it, especially tobacco. Get rid of nicotine delivery products of any kind. Talk about the ratio of positive to negative. There's no even discussing it. You get either a momentary spike of a narcotic high. Most of them don't deliver that. Most of them only deliver you to baseline so that you're no longer yearning. They don't actually give you the pleasure anymore. You've long since habituated away from that. Most of them only get you that far. And you'll just keep paying your money because going below that is the tortures of the damned. I would say get rid of that completely. Get rid of all of it. Get rid of all of it. A glass of wine here and there with friends. Maybe a cup of coffee to get you started in the morning, but otherwise don't do drugs. It's a perfect example. Then our number 5 would be don't wait. And you've heard that on this channel many times. Don't wait. Do it now. In about 10 minutes, you're going to be dead. and you're not going anywhere. There's no Valhalla where you're going to live forever being able to think about all the things you didn't do. This is it. This is all you get. So don't wait. Do it now. Or at least start. At least plan to do it now. Then number 6 is screen-free time. That's a very good idea. I would strongly advise that. I would strongly advise, actually in this case, although I'm not a motivational speaker, I would advise that all of you do what I do. Set a cutoff time in your day. Whether it be 8 or 9 or 10, I know that most of you have to go comatose for 10 hours out of every 24. But no matter when it is, set a time when you're just going to turn everything off. And teach yourself to keep it all off. It'll be very hard for a while. But after a couple of weeks, you'll look forward to that time. Set a time and set it in stone and just do that. But definitely do it. Don't stay online all the time. That is very unhealthy for you. Then our number 7 can be create something today. That's a very good idea. It was Gabe who had that idea before he lost energy, before the poor thing lost energy. Create something every day. You are here to make things. Make a mark. Put your voice out into the world somehow. Writing, songwriting, music, videos, whatever it is, do something. Make something. Don't just consume. Then our number 8 would be save 6 months to a year of living expenses. Give yourself a financial cushion that is not connected to the rest of your financial dealings. Not your checking account, not your saving account, and not a high-end saving account if you have a little extra to chip into that. I'm talking about an emergency fund. Set an emergency fund aside that is enough for you to walk away from any bad situation. It will give you a tremendous feeling of security. Then let's see here. Our number 9, a lot of these variations have been, be nice to other people, treat other people with dignity, have manners. All that boils down to something you Whovians are going to know already, which is be kind. Be kind. All the time. To everyone. In all circumstances. Be kind. There you go. The doctor was right. And then number 10 is how I got into this mess in the first place with the algorithm, and that is read. And don't read to extract value, and don't read Blinkist 15-minute summaries, and read the way we do. So I'm preaching to the choir on this one, so I don't need to do it. But maybe this video will be recommended by the algorithm to some of these BroTube channels, and maybe they'll get this far and hear that. Read the way we do, actively, enthusiastically, wide-rangingly, all the time. It makes you a better person. It makes you a better person. Jason Harrigan at Byways in Bookland is completely correct when he says that readers are by far the best people. It makes you a better person. So that is that is our Decalogue. I will leave our Decalogue down below, and you tell me if you think it's missing anything important. But anyway, I'm going to wrap this up. What a long video. You should see how long some of their videos are. Oh my God, you're getting off easy. But even so, you get somebody bloviating on life tips, and this is what you get. So I'm going to wrap this up, but I'll carefully annotate it in case you want to skip it. And I'll see you soon. Thank you, BookTube.